Hey everyone, Liam Dreyer here, founder of Government for Tomorrow, and welcome to another episode of Students Making History. This time it's a conversation between Audrey Michael and me. Audrey's going to talk about her experience on the Traverse City Downtown Development Authority as a non-voting student member. So please enjoy. Hey Audrey, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
How's it going?
It's great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I think the best way to just start this interview is asking if you can tell everyone a bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a just graduated senior living in Traverse City, Michigan. Um, Basically, in school, I was highly involved in choir and theater. I am a person who kind of likes to wear a lot of hats, so I like to try a bunch of different things. Choir and theater were one of the things I was mostly drawn to, but I was also drawn to taking harder academic classes, including AP Government, which led me to this DDA position that I became interested in. So yeah.
What exactly is the DDA? Because so we talk with a lot of different people about where we help put these students on local government boards, and the DDA or Downtown Development Authority, it's a bit unclear what exactly it does. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so absolutely. When it comes to Traverse City's DDA, it is a area within kind of our central downtown. It's based off of street lines, is kind of where we exist in. And the way I like to see it is we're creating a better downtown for the future. We're creating plans and we're making decisions for 4 years in the future because the things that we're working on now were made 4 years ago. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of just a way for a bunch of people who live in downtown and live in Traverse City to kind of come together and have a central idea of how can we make where we live a better place.
And going along with the vision of the Downtown Development Authority trying to ensure a better future for the community, they then created a student position. Is that correct? And
Yeah.
so when this student position was created, uh, why exactly did you apply? Or what drove you, apart from just a passion for AP government, which I'm sure played some role in it, but what was your motivation there?
Yeah, I mean, some motivation is always going to be kind of college driven, of course.
Sure.
And that's where a lot of things start out, a baseline motivation. But another reason was I've always been someone who wants to try different things. And it seemed like a place for me to kind of explore activism and kind of be a first step for students in my area and kind of our generation to continue moving forward and getting our foot in the door with being able to make change and make change happen. And I think that was a really encouraging part of it, that the process was very simple and easy to kind of get into and, just an application and an interview. And I think that was a really inviting idea for me. Just all of the things that could kind of come with it was really exciting.
Of course, one of the many motivations for students joining these local government boards is that incentive of a better looking resume, right? And a lot of things start that way, and I'm sure in some aspect it had an effect. Where are you going to college, Audrey?
Northwestern University.
So, well, yes, it does seem does seem quite good in that way. But as you said, that type of motivation, that drive will only take you so far. And it's the type of passion for local government or just trying new things that will lead you to experiences which resume driven type of incentive would not be capable of.
Mhm.
And so as you're on the DDA as a student position, you're non-voting, but you
Yeah.
effectively um, have the same role of trying to collaborate with your local government peers who are people who are 20, 30, 40, 50 years older than you in most cases. What do you see as your role specifically as a student member on the Downtown Development Authority?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a lot of not the fact that I'm bringing necessarily fully new ideas to the board, but I'm presenting information that they may not have thought of, where it's a fully different perspective in just the fact of an age difference, because people see the world in different ways based on many different things. And I think my perspective is really important, specifically because, like I said, we're building things for the future. And technically, our generation is the future. So
Right.
we're the people that gets to experience the changes that we're making. And so I think it's really important for the people that are going to experience those changes to have a say in them. And I think that's the kind of main point of my position and other student positions kind of around in the country and in Michigan, is to get the future that we're building towards a voice in what they're going to be a part of.
Right. I think you put that very well, because soon enough, high schoolers or current day high schoolers, you won't have to join student positions. High schoolers will be in a few years able to run for city council, for mayor, or for Congress. I mean, the high schoolers today are the best idea we have of what the future is going to look like. Now, the concept itself of student involvement, of these student positions, introducing a perspective that previously didn't have any institutional recognition of that voice, what you were saying. What apart from kind of the abstraction, the concept itself, do you have concrete stories or just one anecdote, I'm sure out of many, of that type of involvement, of your type of your effect on this board?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes with the fact that I have, for example, one story that comes to mind is the fact that Traverse City is a very restaurant and bar heavy town. Our downtown is very touristy. It comes with a lot of events and things that we put on constantly to kind of spur all of the interest in our downtown. And a lot of those events center around drinking, and there are a numerous amount of alcohol licenses and liquor licenses downtown in Traverse City. And so we were discussing the fact that there are lots of events and how that culture, the drinking culture in Traverse City, affects the population. And they didn't have the perspective of people who don't drink or can't drink. And, you know, the idea of, do we feel safe downtown after hours? Are there events that we can be a part of where there are drinking, but because we can't take a part in it, are we still enjoying that event, or can we even be at that event? And so I think just the idea of including that perspective that they hadn't thought of in that conversation was really important. And I had several people come after the conversation and talk to me saying, oh, I didn't realize that that was, you know, something that we needed to consider. And so there's been a lot of conversations similar to that, where it's even just recently we had a planning meeting for the next, I think, 10 years of what the DDA should be focusing on. And we went over this presentation that discussed the trends in Gen Z and how, you know, how we're becoming activists. And because of COVID, we have this kind of spur and interest in getting out of our homes and not necessarily always staying home. And then when we are home, we're online and things like that. And just having that conversation of how can we get kids interested in coming downtown, and kind of planning for that in the future was really important for me to like kind of represent where we're coming from. And I've had lots of people saying, how can we get more information out to Gen Z and kids your age? And just kind of a lot of those questions where they didn't realize when they're looking at these surveys that they're presenting, the people that they're talking about aren't even in the surveys.
Yeah.
And so things like that, I was just like, well, you can talk to principals, you can, email me. I have plenty of contacts. I can put it on social media, things like that, that they can do a better job at in including our generation and the future that they're planning for. And so that's just a really exciting concept to me that I get to do those things. And so, yeah, those are just a couple examples.
Yeah, those are some pretty amazing examples. And I think a fascinating one is the the alcohol example, because
Mhm.
I'm thinking about it, and I guess the student perspective, at least theoretically, should be objective. Like the
Mhm.
high school students shouldn't be drinking, so they shouldn't have any type of role in benefiting from alcohol being allowed. So that's quite fascinating, that bringing in that objective perspective. Huh. Yeah. Okay. Uh, and I don't mean to be I guess you could say self-indulgent here and talk about government for tomorrow, but but maybe some of the listeners who are interested in learning more about the organization,
Yeah.
can you tell a bit about your experience of government for tomorrow, and what type of role we have played?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, you guys have just been a big advocate for what we're doing and what my position represents, what your position represents, what all of these other students around Michigan and the positions that you've created is the idea that you're advocating for the future. And you have, when we started this position for me, you were very helpful when it came to like, here's ways to converse with your fellow board members, that you're going to be able to put your positions and the way you speak and the way you talk in a more formal sense that they're also going to understand and be more receptive to the information you're presenting. Because it's very true. You talk to people in different settings in different ways. Like at my work, I have a customer service voice, and
Of
that's very
course,
different
yes, yeah.
from how I would talk to my grandmother or how I talk with my friends. And so I think learning that kind of perspective of it was really important for me in the beginning.
Mhm.
And Government for Tomorrow was really helpful with that. And you guys have provided resources. Your website's great when it comes to kind of searching out things that you guys have done. And you have been very responsive when it comes to emails or asking questions. And I think just the organization being such an advocate for the students it represents and the positions it creates has been awesome. And you guys do a really great job with communication in that.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to hear that, and that we're having a real positive impact. That's
Mhm.
good to hear. Now you are, as you said, well, you've already graduated, but you will be leaving in the next few months here, and Government for Tomorrow is already in the process of finding a recommendation
Mhm.
for your replacement. So
Yeah.
soon enough, a student will be filling the non-voting student position on the Traverse City DDA. What type of a legacy do you hope you'll leave behind?
Yeah. I recently actually talked about this with a couple of my fellow board members because they were wondering, they didn't know what the process was going to look like, what, if the position was going to be filled, what was going to happen with it. And I kind of talked about the fact that I really hope for this next student that they're going to start where I left off. And I'm going to try my best to be a resource for them, as much as I can be when I'm off at college. But I'm going to kind of create a little kind of like how to guide almost for my
Yeah.
next and to kind of hand down, here's the things that I had to figure out. Here's, kind of some things that I had hoped to accomplish that I didn't. Here's some ideas for you in the future. And just kind of really setting up this hopefully strong foundation for the next student to really kind of get their feet on the ground right away. Because this position, if it's going to be a senior, they have it for a year.
Mhm.
And so versus having it for 4 years or 10 years or, the
Yeah.
longer amount of terms that my fellow board members have, and they have those years of learning curves where for the student you've got to start off right away and
Yeah.
hopefully get as much as you can out of it. And so that was my idea of that, hopefully starting my next kind of successor as close to where I ended as possible so that they can keep pushing forward the advocacy for students and even furthering the position to where I had furthered it to, and just kind of hopefully growing that interest in town and on other boards, and just kind of hopefully expanding the position as much as possible into that, where can it grow? Because I think that's the idea of a legacy, is that you leave something with someone and then they take it even further than you could take it. And I think that's the best part about it.
It doesn't sound like the momentum that you've built up will dissipate. It sounds like you have a nice transition plan going, and you've made quite the student position. I've spoken with many people in Traverse City as we're trying to expand to more boards, and many of them are familiar with you, and they have nothing but praise. It's quite amazing, and I'm also asked quite frequently what the best argument is for a student position. And I think conversations like this are just about unbeatable.
Yeah.
Some of the things you've said are pretty inspiring. So thank you so much for joining me here, and I wish you all the best in your future. I'm sure it's going to be a very bright one.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I hope you have a good day.
Absolutely. You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.